Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. And I'm in the doghouse somehow, and hopefully, maybe the audience can tell me how, because I have no idea. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world, but not in that way. I am Zach Law, and this is my drinking buddy Sharona, who knows all. She will maybe give some stock tips before the show's over. We're recording on January 4th,
Lottery numbers. I got your lottery
2016.
numbers here.
Every week we give love to Donald Funk, and tonight is his birthday.
Happy birthday, Don.
Happy birthday to Don. You're the only person watching this. Have fun because we're drinking, and you're probably not because you have to go to school tomorrow. Happy birthday, Don. So, how are you this evening, and what was behind the wine decision tonight? You out of beer again?
I am not out of beer. I haven't been drinking a lot since the new year began. And I didn't start the new year with, I don't make New Year's resolutions anymore. I have general goals for every year, but I haven't been drinking very much. And I just was like, I don't really feel like drinking a beer. I'll just sip on some wine. So that's as simple as that.
I don't feel like drinking. That just doesn't compute, but that's okay.
But I still have some of that stout that I like. And tomorrow, if we don't get snowed under or whatever, since the snow, yeah, I'm being looked at by the cats are looking at me like, what are you doing? We have cats tonight. So yeah, I just wanted to sip on a little wine. That's it.
Well, I'm starting with Snow and Tell by Boulevard. This is like an oak-aged kind of Scottish ale, which I liked a lot more the first time I had it. It's all right. The oak thing, it's always the woody beers that get me excited. What's that all about? And then the finisher, the Messiah Nut Brown Ale from Hebrew in, I believe, New York.
No, I like nut brown ale.
That'll.
I almost, in fact, if I get out and restock tomorrow, I might buy some of this. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, a Scotch-based ale. Have you ever heard of such an animal?
Well, they have Scotch ales, but is it actually like aged in Scotch barrels? Because boy, that'd be potent.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to at least take a picture of it if I decide not to buy it yet. But yeah, it was interesting. I was like, But when I was at the wine store and I was stocking up on wine, and I didn't want to buy any more beer yet because I still had some. And so, yeah.
I'd like to say this makes sense, but it doesn't. There's always more beer you can get. Always.
Well, I forgot to grab money running out the door, and I'd been to the store and bought a bunch of stuff, and I was stocking up on wine, and I already had 5 bottles of wine, and then I saw the beer, and I already knew that I hadn't, grabbed money, and so I was like thumbing through, and I was like, I don't really, have the extra cash, and it can wait. So
Don't you just use the barter system where you are? I'll trade you a cat for like a case of wine or.
Lord, nobody would want these cats.
Oh no. Yeah, I would say Don probably brought more wine to the beach than you have in your house. Did not complete drinking at all. I think both Don and I brought way too much booze, but you got to be ready.
You got to be stocked up. How much did he bring, out of curiosity?
I think he brought a case. He brought at least half a case.
That's not a lot.
So I brought all this beer, all these special bombers.
6 bottles, that's not
I haven't
bad.
brought a bomber that was a quad. Ooh, it's going to confuse
That
Sharona.
totally confuses me. I have no idea what that is.
But it was all good stuff.
A bomber is the size, while a quad is the style.
So you're figuring out.
I'm getting it. A slow learner.
I actually read today about some French monks who are actually starting to brew beer to make money, and I guess they're using a style that's been around for a couple hundred years. And I'm like, that's cool. I'll get some French monk beer. That sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome, actually.
Of course, Corson Donk's Abbey Ale, which is quite tasty. That's from Belgium. That's my original. That's the gateway drug to good beer for me because when I had that, and I was like, I'm on my way. Now, the season ended, of course,
Yes.
NFL season. We had a happy ending for the Titans, except for Kendall Wright, Chance Warmack, and those two coaches who got fired.
Mm.
Dick LeBeau turns 80 next year, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the sideline when the year starts. I mean, he's just one of those like guys who's just going to get carried off. But my parents at least got to witness a win in the end.
Well, that's always
I
good.
was trying to be the total like,
Asshole.
yes, good choice. The total fan, like, no, I want them to lose so they have a better draft pick. But I like to see them beating the
Hate
Texans.
that. It just that drives me nuts. It does. It drives me nuts.
Being a fan doesn't mean you have to kill like all your skepticism, but then yeah, you get to be a bit of a killjoy, and they got like a defensive touchdown, which they never get, and Brock Osweiler came back in and like led them to 2 touchdowns. But the play that just shocked me, and if you'd told me this before the year, I would have been like, no way. It was like the NFL highlights, and it showed Matt Castle completes 50-yard pass. I'm like, did he throw a screen pass and the guy ran 50 yards? But no, he actually threw a ball 50 yards in the air. And the good thing is Rashard Matthews is used to Marcus Mariota's passes taking a little time to get to him. So he was open, but then he kind of had to wait for the defender and got the ball real high, and that was a good pass. So way to go, Matt. Maybe we have another year of him as the backup, and hopefully he'll never play.
I picked up Rashard Matthews. Of course, I had him in our league, but I was playing in a couple of championship games this past weekend, and I'm trying to think. I forget which league it was, but Rashard Matthews was on the waiver wire. Picked him up and started him. He was up. What Brandon Marshall was out, right? I think he didn't play.
He's been out for 8 weeks. He's one of those early picks that I took in a few leagues, and like Jeremy Maclin. But yeah, usually when a backup comes in, it's like, oh, he throws the backups because those are the guys he's practicing with. Matt Cassell was like, I'm throwing the ball exclusively to Rashard Matthews because Matthews had like 9 catches. I think Delaney might have 3 or 4, but it really was Rashard Matthews, and he's the guy. Although I'm still going with, the Titans have picks 5 and 18 in the first round.
Mm.
I still think receiver in the first round would be a good choice. Cornerback in the first round, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
But then again, would you say it's too early to talk about the draft? Are you like, no way? Because
it's never really too early. I mean, there is no off season and stuff, and they've got a lot of needs. There's not, there's a decided lack of depth at some spots, and I mean, I understand the people who think wide receiver is a huge need. I put it. If I had to rank it, I mean, defensive back to me is at the top of the list. There's no question about that. I think that wide receivers there, linebacker. They need linebacker help. I understand Delaney Walker's. Tight ends can play. They take care of themselves and take care of their body, which Delaney does. They can play. Look at Jason Witten. Look, Tony Gonzalez played for a long, long, long time, and so. But yeah, it's probably if they're not. They don't seem enthused with Jay Samaro. We didn't see much of him. So if they're not, I mean, he's the only other exciting young guy on the roster at the tight end position. I like Philip Supernall. He's a nice player, but he's not Delaney. They need somebody who can be that kind of player that and Jay Samaro's not Delaney either. Let's get that straight too.
There's only one.
There's only one. So yeah, they're in a nice position to let the draft come to them this year if they will.
So you said you were in a couple of fantasy championship games last week.
I know, it's weird. I don't like Week 17
I was
championship
like, what's it
games.
like living in the 90s? Is it okay? Is it cool back then? How's the hairstyles and the music better?
It's
Is the
crazy,
grunge
man.
still around?
I was spinning my disco ball, it's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I didn't check where I finished in Scott Fishbowl. Poorly. My team sucked. So, yeah.
Well, I almost missed not getting those MFL emails from every single league I'm in. Although out of what was I in? 4, I think MFL 25s and 2 10s, and I came in second in one of the 25s. And that was my finish.
Sorry.
I saw your screen up. I'm like, are you checking your Twitter feed as we go?
Well, no, I've got it unplugged. I've got the internet unplugged there. I was trying to figure out where the glare was coming from, and I finally figured out it was the screen.
It's gotta be all balanced, right?
Well, yeah, I keep telling you I want us to go back and at least try that because this camera on this is so crappy. That control room thing, but I haven't gone back to remember how to do it that way. So we're still doing it the quick and easy way.
It's like we're on Lost, and those videos they recorded in the hatch.
The
Where
Blair
it's all
Witch,
from like the
the Blair Witch
70s.
Project. Mm-hmm.
Don't not press the button or you're. Oh, I don't remember.
I don't
I've
know.
lost with
When
that ending.
I use the camera from that studio, that we were using, it looks great, wonderful. But this camera, the default camera is awful on this. Maybe I'll win a fantasy football championship next year, and I can use my winnings to buy a new laptop. I should probably check out my tablet. That might actually be a better option. But we're a work in progress. We're always a work in progress here at Going for Two.
I've seen people use their phones. I've seen people use their tablets on Hangout. So it's it's all open. Is it extra sad that the Titans blew the game against Jacksonville because they could be playing the Raiders starting their third string quarterback, the guy they traded up to get over Dak Prescott, who apparently sucks, Connor Cook. So, this weekend, I was saying for weeks, I'm like, bet the house against the AFC South champion. But this weekend, I don't even know if is there a line in the Houston-Oakland game? It's pretty rare to have two quarterbacks who are starting in a game who, if they win this week, you can pretty much put the odds at about 100%. They're never going to win any more playoff games in their career. Just like TJ Yates, who won a few years ago over Portland.
Yeah. Well, Case Keenum won some games.
Didn't they start? Was it Brandon? No, it wasn't Brandon Whedon. It was that guy who was with Cleveland this year. Or no, he's with the Bears this year.
Hoyer, Brian Hoyer. Boy, that playoff game featured the worst quarterbacking I have ever seen in my life. It was putrid.
I think that game alone made Brock Osweiler like $36 million. Oh. It was funny to see him do the reverse Peyton. He got benched, and then Tom Savage got hurt. Tom Savage, the sudden savior of Houston, and then Osweiler came in. He didn't exactly lead them back to a win. He just led them back for a couple touchdowns against Titans when it didn't matter. And really, I think if you're playing playoff fantasy, I think the Raiders-Texans game should be worth double points and maybe triple because there's nobody on either team who's going to do anything. Both teams are doing running back by committee. Both teams have bad quarterbacks, so you can't trust the receivers. Maybe the tight end, Fedorowicz, is just a great
I picked him up. I had him. He was my backup tight end.
Something, but it's bad. Amari Cooper
sucked.
Was part of the kind of mediocre top-level receivers this year. And Michael Crabtree, I would bench him the week that he had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, then I'd start him the next week he had 40 yards and 2 catches. And he got his chain ripped off by Aqib Talib. What a crazy guy. I mean, you go to University of Kansas, what are you going to, it's to be expected, but craziness. So that's the game we probably can miss this weekend, or maybe just tune in at halftime to see what the score is. But the evening game, I'm sure I'm going to have to watch because it's a showdown between the hometown team of my new brother-in-law and my wife's team, the Seattle Seahawks. Well, you know where I'm going. And Seahawks, just bring out those neon green jerseys. That would just be the end. Come on, let's do it. Yeah, you just like
No,
slowly
yeah,
nodding.
it's going to be a good game.
It's like, wake up.
I was agreeing with you.
I know. It's like, this is confusing. When she does make this, what does that mean when she's nodding? I don't understand. It's confusing. There's an agreement.
I like to keep you on your toes.
I think Detroit is the team that gave up the best completion percentage defense like in year. Like it was 72% opposing quarterbacks threw against them. So the Seahawks have no offensive line. They're clearly mediocre because they barely could beat the 49ers on the road last week. It was odd to see Trevon Boykin come in and like close that game out for him. Because at that point, it didn't matter what happened.
The 49ers are just a mess. I mean, I did a poll on Twitter. I asked people who the top 5 dysfunctional NFL teams were, and the 49ers were the unanimous choice for the top spot. The Bills were in there, Chargers. I'm unsure whether you can put are the Browns I think they're just a bad football team right now. Are they still dysfunctional? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, there are 2 things you need for sure. Is you need that head coach, and you need that quarterback. Probably the quarterback over the head coach, to be honest. And it seems like they have their coach. They have tons of draft picks. Maybe, I mean, they could just get rid of those new.
Oh, the Jets were in there. The Jets and Bills.
I mean, the Titans would have been on everybody's top 5 list last year. So, hey, look at the difference a year makes. We're not dysfunctional. Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers were the franchise that has hired and fired 2 coaches in 2 years, the last 2 to do that. The last time they did that, Bill Walsh was the 3rd guy. So hopefully they're looking for a Bill Walsh. Although really, like, coaching candidates, I'm just not as with it as I was. Like, the interim offensive coordinator for the Bills is, like, doing the rounds.
Anthony Lynn, that's his name. Yeah, I don't get
name. And you just don't know the insider guys in the NFL.
I don't
Obviously,
get it.
Kyle Shanahan's hot, the offensive coordinator. McDaniels, who had a horrible first run with the Broncos, and it's always those coaches off the Belichick tree. And
I don't get the Josh McDaniels love either.
I don't know who else is there. I always feel bad for like coordinators of teams that make a playoff run because then they can't interview, and teams have to sign guys. I always think if you're the last team to sign somebody, you have an advantage because everybody else has signed it, and you have your choice of the players that are there. Or you could just bring in guys for fake interviews, interview Mike Mularkey, right? Mike Mularkey. I like him a little more than last week. A little more.
Listen, I want to go back to that last week because I know this will shock you, but I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on that. And I'm not saying Mike Mularkey is some world burner, great, offensive, defensive minded coach. I mean, he's an offensive guy, right? Anyway, players playing lethargic and apparent and seemingly unmotivated, to me, in a professional league like the NFL, that's on the player. It's the coach's job to game plan and put in game plans and schemes and whatever to make these guys successful. But we're talking about grown men. They know what's at stake. You don't have to, I mean, the whole, that an NFL coach has to motivate his team. I'm not down with that philosophy because I think it's their job. It is their job to show up prepared and to play hard.
Well, I like that speech, but you got to say grown ass man. I think that's the important thing.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Maybe we shouldn't say ass after that bizarre play with the Clemson Ohio State game. If you haven't seen it, don't look. Don't look it up. You don't want to know.
I know there's some grabbing of private parts and there's outrage and players going, well, if you're not grabbing parts in the pile, you're not doing it right. I don't know. You dudes are weird.
True that. Good thing we're not in control of anything in the world. Because white guys would screw this stuff up.
Oh,
Good thing
yeah?
we know
Have you been
better.
paying attention to the political climate in this country, the elections and hello?
I've been white guy wasted. What are you talking about? No?
I think we should all drink through the next however many apocalyptic years we have left.
Although I do feel bad for a player that should be drafted anyway. Jake Butt, greatest
Oh,
super
I
tight end ever.
know.
And after all that, he should love his team BS about the guys who skip bowl games. Here's a guy, Jake Butt, playing in a bowl. It doesn't matter. Orange Bowl, sorry. And he tears his ACL, and he probably won't be back next year. So I guess since Trent Baalke, whatever his name is, the guy from Perfect Strangers, isn't going to be with the 49ers anymore, they won't be drafting all the torn ACL guys like they did
Yeah,
every year,
really.
and not any of that working out. But it is sad. I think I saw him in a mock draft go in the 3rd round. Because the crazy people are doing the full 7-round mock drafts at this point, which I'm impressed by. But yeah, so we agree. Houston, Oakland, terrible. Houston will probably win because, we need to see that horrible color scheme one more week. And doing a Rage Against the Machine song. No. Anyway, the NFL. And then, of course, Seahawks, 12th man will crush the poor Lions. And Jim Caldwell's amazing poker face. Russell Wilson will win a playoff game in, I believe, his first 5 years in the NFL. Tom Brady didn't do that. Of course, he didn't make the playoffs one year. Tom Brady didn't lose a first playoff game till his 7th appearance. Pretty good. He's not bad. But hearing everybody say how much he deserves the MVP, I'm just, whatever. I just can't. I can appreciate Tom Brady. I just can't like him. There's just nothing about me that'll ever want to like him. One more Super Bowl loss, please. And then a 70s throwback, and I want, please, Dolphins, wear your 70s teal jerseys. Don't wear the new accidentally put bleach in them and the laundry, whatever that is. The Dolphins a little straighter than the little one.
That atrocity.
Cartoon from the 70s. It was awesome. And then the Steelers might as well wear their weird-ass striped throwbacks, while we're at it.
They retired the convict.
The Bumblebee?
Mm-hmm.
Those are popular. I mean, I usually think a throwback jersey is as popular as a team does well with them, but those are just the weird ones. And the final game, I mean, Giants with the defense and I'd say pedigree, but I think they probably have 4 guys from their last Super Bowl, so I don't think it matters. Against the Packers, who've been the hottest team in the NFL.
And they were all on the party boat? No, I don't know.
Since this game, oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's a little, I saw a post, and I can't remember which statistical site it was, probably like Number Fire, where they showed a team's chances of making the playoffs. And I guarantee that chance of making the playoffs cratered when a team lost to the Titans. The Titans beat the crap out of the Dolphins. Their playoff odds were down. They beat the Packers. The Packers, I think, were 5-6 at the time. They beat the Chiefs. Well, the Chiefs were in the playoffs at that point. But any team in the playoffs that the Titans beat, it was like, boop, you suck. But they've managed to make the turnaround. The Sunday game, I feel bad that Tom Coughlin should appear on the sideline there with his totally remember that playoff game where it was -5 and he wasn't wearing anything on his face? And
I remember it.
Were blinding people who stared into them, and I think he still has damage from that. Ugh, 2 straight years of weird Giant Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't 2 straight years, but both championship games went to overtime and they won on turnovers. Brett Favre blew it. So what do you think? You think it's the Packers kind of weekend, a Giants kind of weekend?
I think the Packers will beat the Giants.
All Aaron Rodgers?
Never bet against, Aaron Rodgers has been there, done that. It's, the team around him isn't all that experienced, but the coaching staff is, and he is. And, I'm just not a fan of Ben McAdoo as a head coach.
Yeah, somebody dressed up as him, and he has like you see the coaches with the like the plastic thing in front of them. Well, he has like the entire go to like the diner that is the 50-page menu. That's what he has in front of him like during the game. He's like flipping through it, and I don't know. I'm still like going, is Tom Coughlin like secretly still coaching this team? It's possible. But do you think between the conferences and the playoffs, do you think the NFC or AFC is more interesting?
Wow, that's a good question.
My first.
I think it's pretty weighted pretty evenly, I guess, I'm curious. I don't think it's a given that the Texans are going to beat the Raiders. I'm very curious to watch the Raiders play, and so that's got a little excitement level for it. I mean, I could give a shit about the Giants in the playoffs, and if it weren't,
She
you know,
could.
I mean, if it weren't the Packers, I mean, I might not even watch the game either. Anyway,
I don't know. Friend of the show, Jen Ryan. She's a big fan. She wants the Giants to win because she's in New Jersey, big Cowboys fan, and she wants Giants Cowboys Part 3. The two losses for the Cowboys this year have been the Giants.
I
They
saw
could pull a Titans on them on a Titans Jags action.
an interesting stat, and there's not a complete correlation. There's some correlation, but not, it's not great between fantasy, how guys do in fantasy, and their talent level and what they've done on the field. But I didn't realize Jen was such a Tony Romo stan. Really, I didn't. I guess I just didn't realize that. But I saw that.
Cowboys fan. Come on.
I know she's a Cowboys fan, but I saw that Dak he placed as a quarterback 6 this past year, and I had him on one of my teams, and I thought it was just crazy talk to, anyway. I would have. Maybe I don't respect Tony Romo as much as I obviously don't respect Tony Romo as much as
Yeah.
Jen does, but I would never have set Dak over Tony Romo ever.
But nobody said that in week one. Nobody thought Dak was going to do anything. He had just a crazy year. Good offensive line, but hey, it worked out. 4-year starter in
Good running
SEC
back,
school.
I mean, Ezekiel Elliott being so good was definitely a help, and I mean, and when you consider who was the Cowboys' leading wide receiver, had to be Cole Beasley. I don't know who it was, but I mean,
Receptions. Dez kind of he got hurt again, and
he was
he
nothing.
had some touchdowns. I mean, I think Dak just had to figure out how to throw the fade to him, and then that kind of worked out. But
Let me see. Let's look this up.
I do think the Cowboys just that home field advantage thing, the one that the Titans couldn't handle. That first game is just tough because they had 2 weeks off. They didn't really play last week. Tony Romo, hey, he played and he led them to a touchdown. And they threw Mark Sanchez in there, which I love. I think it'd be awesome to give Sanchez a ring.
Let's see here. Player category. Well, look, Odell Beckham's he was 3 on the Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. Let's see here. Well,
I still find the NFC more interesting just because I feel like the Patriots have a practical bye to the Super Bowl.
all
Just
right.
because I don't think anybody in the AFC can play consistently well.
Here we go. Individual stats. Yes, it was Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley.
I mean, and I like Cole Beasley. I said a few years. I have had him in fantasy for 2 or 3 years on a team, and Jason Witten was second, Des Bryant was third. So yeah, Des Bryant had 8 touchdowns. Now that's but in terms of receiving yards, Cole Beasley led the team, and he only had 5 touchdowns. So, But overall, he was their leading receiver.
So we have,
Terrence Williams, Ezekiel Elliott's in there with let's see, he had one receiving touchdown. Terrence Williams had 4 touchdowns. Jason Witten had 3. So yeah,
but if home teams hold, we'll have the Texans and their Leather Jackets going to New England. We'll have the Steelers going to Kansas City, where the Titans last beat them. And then we'll have Packers, I think it's be Packers Cowboys. That'll be a rematch of the Dez catch non-catch game. And then Seattle Atlanta, the underrated game where rookie Russell Wilson led them to like 3 touchdowns. And then with like 30 seconds to go, somehow Matt Ryan led the Falcons to the game-winning field goal. I could see that happen again because the Seahawks have some issues on defense. They have injuries, really. And they have no offensive line. But the Falcons don't really. They're like a year away from, I think, having a decent defense. And at this point, they just outscore teams. So, yeah. And I'm kind of looking forward to the possibility of Jason Garrett blowing it and then Jen Ryan blowing her liver on drinking every cider in New Jersey during the game. Because if she's at home in New Jersey watching the game with all her family, it's going to be something else. So we have a couple
I would love to be on a fly on the wall and watch that. I bet it's fun and entertaining.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it's a bucket list type deal. We have
I mean, I want to meet Jen in person and drink beers and or ciders or wine or whatever. I'm kind of jelly, you guys have all hung out and
That's right. Might have to do the draft in New York City or something. New York City.
New York City.
Or Secret Lair, Tennessee, wherever you are. So you in an area of Tennessee where, like, if they get 2 snowflakes, everybody freaks out, or is it not so bad?
It's not quite as bad here as it is in some parts, simply because, it's in kind of a valley, and the weather's typically a little bit cooler than it is in the bigger cities where there's a convection effect. It's a warmer there, and so deal with it a little bit more. Besides, the roads don't get cleared like they do in big cities.
Well, except for our city. It sounds like we're supposed to get snow in Atlanta like Friday night or Saturday, so we will not have during the week craziness. But, in Atlanta, we get an inch of snow. It pretty much is over.
I think they're calling for it here tomorrow.
Well, let me know what it's like.
Let me see.
You're going to be snowed in, you and the kiddies. That's why you need to go to the liquor store now. You got to get ahead of the crowd.
See, I did. Today's what, Wednesday? Was it? Yeah, it was yesterday. I went yesterday and stocked up. I'm good.
That's good. It's good to be prepared. Any thoughts on Hall of Fame finalists? Terrell Owens, T.O., come on.
T.O. I mean, Kevin Mawai, former Titan. Titan Jet. Who else did he play for? I forget. Oh well, I didn't realize he was coaching the Bears. He was an assistant offensive line coach for the Bears, which is awesome. So I'm happy and excited to see him on the list. And Terrell Owens and Terrell Davis is on there, right?
I wasn't sure.
John Lynch. I mean, if he doesn't get in, there's something wrong. Okay, here we go. Yes, Thursday. There is a 70% chance of snow.
She's in
trouble. That starts tomorrow night. And then Friday, it goes Thursday night, there's a 70% chance up until Friday morning when it becomes a 40% chance. And then Friday, it's a 20% chance, according to weather.gov.
Well, one of the worst winter storms we had in Atlanta was when it didn't actually have freezing precipitation. It just rained, and then overnight it got cold and everything froze. That was when the Titans played in the AFC Championship game, and I didn't watch it because power was out. It was a fun week when my brother and sister-in-law were on vacation. My nephew was sick, and we went to their house, and their alarm went off, and we couldn't turn it off. And then they all came back from Hawaii. Had to spend like 2 nights at my condo because we had power, because it was just a disaster. It was an actual, like, there's some winter storms, snow apocalypse. We had a few years ago, we had like an inch of snow and the city just shut down. That was stupid. We had a pretty bad like ice storm a few years ago that would have shut down most cities.
No, ice is different. Ice is bad. Ice is the worst because, I don't know who you are. It is extremely.
You know who I am?
No, I mean it's extremely. I don't care who you are. It's extremely
True.
difficult to shut up. Let me talk.
First round, sorry.
It's extremely difficult to navigate even in the best of times, and so yeah, you just have to be careful on ice. And the worst, anyway, I could tell stories, but hey, I won't.
But you could. This is the time.
I could.
Tell your story. Listen, come on. The cats, I'm sure, are really good listeners. Call napping listening.
Yeah, Iggy's asleep. I guess they're both asleep. They're both napping a little bit. When we first started, Iggy was looking at me like this. She was like all tuned in, but now she's gone to sleep.
That's right. We've gone almost 40 minutes.
Yes.
And we have not discussed the most glorious sports moment of the past year. Tennessee's bowl victory over Nebraska in the Music City Bowl.
Yes.
Butch Jones, baby.
Yes.
Did you watch any of it?
No, not much. A few highlights here and there as I was walking to and from and stuff. I kept up with it on Twitter and it's funny because my timeline today has been full of irate Vol fans who, rightfully so, are upset about how they're going to fuck up the AD search.
So are they hiring a new offensive coordinator? I keep hearing about that, but I don't know what's going on.
They don't have an athletic director, and I don't know. It's just a clusterfuck.
So you're only wishing well the Tennessee guys who are like going to the draft or.
I always wish I mean, I wasn't a big fan still not a big fan of Arian Foster. Other than that, I mean, I wish these guys well. It's, not really personal to me.
Yeah, the only reason I saw any of that game is because the Funks and the Laws were going out to dinner in Jekyll, and that happened to be on, I think it was the only game on TV. And it's weird. We're in Jekyll Island, so that's like south of Georgia. But there's a brewing company which is in Atlanta called Jekyll.
Oh.
I'm not sure, but anyway, basically all of the taps were Jekyll. So I had a beer called Cooter Brown, and Don had Hop Dang Diggity. Cooter Brown,
was it?
not John. What's the Cooter guy for the
Jim Bob Cooter?
Jim Bob, yeah. Pretty good beer,
Tennessee guy. Did you not know that?
You don't
he was
say.
In Tennessee. Yes, of course.
You only get to use your middle name if you're from Tennessee or if you're a serial killer. It's the only time it matters. Or if you're a woman on Facebook. Sorry. No? You're not with me?
Of course, absolutely.
It's because people use their maiden name because you can find it in a search. Anyway, we're going to try to get back on track. If we ever were on track.
We're never on track.
I'm going to pour a couple out. Pour one out for Gary Kubiak, who retired from the NFL. Yeah. Now, it just seems like he's only coached in the NFL 2 years because he led the Broncos to the Super Bowl and then played this year. But he was a coach with the Texans for a while. I'm pretty sure he was the coach that led TJ Yates to a playoff victory, which probably should get him Hall of Fame enshrinement. And I think he has as many Super Bowl rings as John Elway. So there you go.
Mm.
And that's probably a pretty high of all the coaching openings. That's probably the one that's the most interesting.
You would think, yeah. I mean, I always it. I mean, it's to me, it's a huge red flag that nobody seems to want to play for coach for John Elway. John Fox got the hell out of town, and Gary Kubiak just like, fuck it, I'm retiring, and so
Maybe, yeah.
there's
It's pretty
something there.
it's pretty rare to have a front office guy who usually the successful players in the league don't go on to become coaches or GM. Well, my president's like, I don't know, it's almost a ceremonial thing, but he's involved. But there must be some ego thing involved. And I've already poured mine out. Wait, there's a little bit more. For Zero RB today on Twitter, Zero RB
What
was
was the
put to
thing?
rest. Fantasy Twitter is fun because people will have a sense of humor about themselves. But today there was way too much like mea culpa about this year. Hey, running backs in the first couple rounds did really well, and the receivers kind of sucked. Therefore, that whole Zero RB thing didn't work. But you still got mid-round
It's
guys
all
like
listen.
Melvin Gordon and
It's just
DeMarcus.
all about relative value. I mean, it's a relative value concept, and I mean, any given year there's going to be uh because of attrition and injuries and changes to teams and what have you, there are going to be changes and differences, and so you try to navigate the waters to see. It's just all about relative value.
Well, last year and the year before, if you went wide receiver in the first round, you were kind of weird. And this year, it was the assumption. So I think the two teams I had that did the best, which were Scott Fishbowl and that King of the Hill, I actually did draft running backs kind of early and waited on receiver. There are plenty of late round guys. It's like any fantasy football theory works if you draft the right players or if you get the right guys off waivers. You just have to be able to adjust to the system,
Hmm.
and you don't have this set plan unless are going to drink as much as we usually do. Then maybe you need to have something written down in really big print that you can read. That's possible.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because uh, you can't predict injuries for one thing, and like not this past season but the season before that, running backs got injured at an incredibly high rate, and it's a lot of it depends on the crop coming in and where there's just so much. I think the zero running back theory still has, and I saw people tweeting that were tweeting support of it, and I think it still has value.
And people were using it with different names. I mean, this isn't fantasy baseball where you have like 19 positions. I mean, really, it's running back, wide receiver, and then tight end and quarterback are kind of on the back burner. So you're going to pick guys, and they're going to work out well, or they're going to work out shitty. That's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Once again, I used two of my over it or not subjects already, so I'm going to dump them. So
Uh-oh.
it's over it or not time.
Uh-oh.
I think I know the answer to
Okay.
the first one. Bowl games that aren't the playoffs. Over.
Over it. I mean,
People were talking about how good the USC Penn State game was, and as a lifelong hater of Penn State, I was happy to see them lose. But I don't know. It's like if college football happens to be on a Saturday, I'm going to watch. But these bowl games, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not that invested, so I'm okay letting it go. And it's really odd, and I know they're changing it next year, to have playoff games that actually mean something, and then the next 2 days have these kind of exhibition-like games that mean stuff for the players and maybe the coaches, the ones that haven't already quit for better jobs, because that's cool. But the guys who sit out because they might get hurt, that's not cool. We know how it goes.
I do. That whole I ignored it. I was like, I'm just gonna sit over here in my little corner of the world and not
Don't,
care about that
don't
conversation.
just sip wine or bourbon or something.
I did finish the birthday bourbon. I have no
Oh,
birthday bourbon. I did not New Year's Eve, the new New Year's New Year's Eve, the night before New Year's. I popped the birthday tequila
ooh.
and had some of it, and so I really didn't even feel like drinking on New Year's Eve. So I didn't really. It's all right,
I was
but I
yeah,
did finish the birthday bourbon.
yeah. I was going to ask about the New Year's Eve experience. I assume it went well, and you stayed. You and the kiddies had a good time.
The kiddies and I hung out and had a great time, and all was well. And I'm relatively certain if I had because I figured this out last night. I'll tell you this story for sure. If I had left my bourbon glass unattended, that Iggy would have probably gotten in it because
Drunk cat.
that little shithead last night, nothing doing but that she get in the bedroom with me, which is kind of her thing. She's becoming attached to me, which is good. We've been bonding. I've been working on this with her. But she had to be in the bedroom with me, and so I crawled in bed, and the first thing, and I always keep a glass of water beside the bed in case I wake up and get thirsty or whatever. And so I'm comfortably in the middle of the bed, all curled up, and I hear lap, 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 and I'm like, she's in my water. And she did. She drank like a significant part of my water and then walked over my head a little bit and then decided she had had enough and scratched at the door until I finally rolled out of bed and got up and let her out. So,
Yeah, if we have a cup of any kind, the cats find that more interesting than their own water dish. It's like, ooh, your water is tasty. You got the
yes,
good stuff.
yes.
But they will, if I have like a glass of beer and I put it down, they like sniff it and they go, "Whoa, whoa, that's the that's the bad stuff."
Oh, yeah, they don't want that?
I
Okay.
don't know what it is. But New Year's Eve, so we're at Jekyll Island with the Funks. They had two double beds because they brought their dog with them. So it was the ladies in one bed doing like crossword puzzles or coloring books, and then me and Don in the other bed drinking and watching the college football playoff, and then switching over to the CNN thing that was kind of the same. They could replay the same thing every year, and we wouldn't notice a difference. It's just there's not much to those shows. We missed out on the lip sync fiasco, whatever Mariah Carey thing,
Mariah Carey, yeah.
which was a nice way to tie a bow in the year. So last over or not, and I think I might just put this in every week and just see how you react. Lane Kiffin.
Over it.
I have no idea why he's not allowed to play in the championship game or coach, because Kirby Smart coached for him all the way through. But hey, everybody hates Lane Kiffin. That's just a universal thing.
He made Nick Saban. He did something to make. I mean, and Nick Saban, you don't mess with Nick Saban. And I said it probably wasn't just one thing, but there's no question in my mind, but that he was trying to pike players, and there's no telling what he was trying to steal on his way out the door. I mean, I hope they count the silver when it's all said and done, because he probably stole some championship trophies and took them with him and try and pass them off as his own.
So do they have? Because they always talk about like Alabama, they have like whatever 15 national titles. When it was actually stated that some athletic directors of theirs in like 1980 like gave them credit for like 3 or 4 national titles that they didn't win in any poll. Like there was one year they finished third in the SEC in like the 50s, and they just said national title. So I don't know, but at this point now, when there's the playoffs, they're official. That stupid year they rematched with LSU, and that was the most boring football game I ever saw in my life. I want Clemson to beat him. I just like saying Clemson. But there's, man, they have like Clemson had a ton of guys go to the NFL last year, and they look better this year. They were one of those teams that were just so talented. They were kind of bored earlier in the year, I think. They lost to, and my, parents, both Pitt grads, would be happy that the Pitt beat the national champion, right? That'd be pretty awesome. But they couldn't beat Northwestern in a bowl game. But they beat Clemson. But we're looking forward to that. Get a coworkers going to the game. And it's actually, this is a pretty good football weekend. You get the 2 game, well, ignore the Texans game, but you have 2 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and the championship on Monday. And then next week, the bonus is that we have the divisional round, 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and I get to see Bernie Sanders on Sunday. Boom. And Monday is a holiday. So there you go. I'm just giving away my entire plan for the rest of the month. So in your face. Yeah, I see that. You probably saw some tweet or something, and you seem distracted.
Well, no, I was just checking.
I don't entertain you anymore.
No, I'm listening. I was just making sure we weren't missing any big news. I do that, Yeah,
well, I don't have a ton to say on the beer front other than I brought some really good bombers, including one that was a quad to the beach.
Okay.
I brought out that 3 Philosophers, which is the 2011, so it's like a 6-year-old bottle of beer. And Don, who's not really a beer guy, and he was drinking tons of wine, he just wanted to smell it because that old beer's just got this smell to it. And it was so good. And then the next night I brought out the beers that Sharona would roll her eyes out. The Rodenbach Alexander, the sour cherry beer, which is just delicious as all get out.
I did almost, when I was online, I thought I had found this online beer thing. I had a Rodenbach or whatever it's called. I had one of those in my cart. I was like all excited that it's going to be so
jelly confused.
And confused. So I'm still looking for an online beer store. Haven't found one yet.
I wonder if it's a state thing. But then
no, there's just not that many. You can have it delivered here. I need to. You can get wine actually through Amazon, but I've got to verify some things on my account. I need to do that so that I can do it.
She ain't verified. I think that was the problem. Like New Year's the night before, and then New Year's Eve, I drank all these like bombers I'd been saving, and then New Year's Day I was a little bit like I didn't have that much in. Like all the beers that I had left were beers that I was gonna drink with Dawn that had coffee in them, and I'm not that big of a coffee fan. And I was just like, nah. So I'm actually maybe if we meet with Dawn this weekend, we'll be pulling out some of those beers.
Are we ever gonna get Dawn on the show? By the way.
I don't know what to say about him. Now it's school year, be like, oh, I'm tired, whatever. So it's hard to say. We have a fan, but yeah, he's shy.
Shy.
But I did hear back from Scott Fish, and he's actually off work like the end of January through February, so we can get him on one of those weeks.
Oh, awesome!
Because he's doing some crazy big fantasy playoff league that I probably should join, so at least I'm in some kind of fantasy thing during the playoffs because it's almost over. And then maybe we need to get Mike Margosian back on because what starts as soon as the season ends? MFL 10s. And they're adding ones this year that I think are like DFS, not like actual DFS, but it's like 50-50s, like the top half actually wins as opposed to the current way where I think with NFL 10s, it's like you come in second, you get a free league. You come in first, you get $100. With the bigger stakes, second place wins some money, but they're actually adding some different contests. And I like doing at least one early MFL 10 just to have a feel for what players are going in drafts. And I just noticed this year rookies went really late, and they seem to pay off pretty well. Most of them, and then just keep an eye on stuff, and it's something to do. So maybe Mike will get us on the inside. Well, Jen's in too. I think she was like 10th overall in number of leagues played. So maybe we shouldn't get in with them because they're too good. Although I think I got crushed in the league with Sharona, but I think I actually finished ahead of Jen when we did together. But she's in like 50 leagues, so I don't even know if that counts. But that's about it. I did read an article about beer in 2017 and how the author wasn't going to cellar beers, which just means you save them for later. he made a big case about, hey, the beer that you get is the way that they want you to drink it. Although I don't always think that's the case. I think there's some beers you can hold on to. I have some like bourbon barrel aged beers that I got that I think I'm going to hold on for like a year or so,
Have you ever
just to
tried to
try them out.
brew your own? Have I ever asked you this? Have you ever tried to brew your own
No, although
beer?
I have a friend who's actually brewing beer this weekend. And I was thinking of doing it, but it's the same time as playoffs. Ugh, so inconsiderate.
Is it hard? I was thinking about maybe doing it.
I know some people do it, and I'd actually like to see what the process is, but I'm a little afraid. It's like, let me get another hobby. I just got my burger shaper thing from my grill. Come on.
Oh
What else do I
yeah,
need?
that's so funny. I cooked burgers
I
today.
think the
And then
only
I passed.
advantage of that having a patty thing is just all of your burgers are the same size. So you know that like some of them are going to be undercooked. I mean, it depends on where you put it on the grill, but for the most part, they're going to be cooked the same. And that's kind of what you want.
Mm,
Because we
okay.
can't predict the difference. That's really all there is to it. But I don't know. I haven't done pizza in a while. Maybe this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I was out of town. Like, we've gone to beach places where they've had kitchens and they've had grills. This place just had like a microwave and a mini fridge. And it was in my mini fridge beer, nothing
Mm.
else, just beer. And so we
Priorities.
had to go out to eat, and there were only like 6 restaurants in the whole island. It's very sparse, not a ton of choice, but it still was good. Good times, different experience. So it was fun. So Back Talk is the first episode of the year out yet? Or are you still in production? Is it still stewing?
We are in production. I got a meeting on Friday. I've got a kind of a new project for Back Talk that's in the
Oh,
works. Yeah, I know, right? So I've got a meeting on Friday for that. Maybe do something. We'll see. But we're definitely going to be coming back. So we're in the pre-production process and planning what we're going to be doing this next year. And so yeah, it should be fun.
good. It's time to talk, right?
It is. But what we're going to talk about and how we're going to approach talking about it is the question. That's the that's where we are in the process. And so yeah.
Sometimes Sharona doesn't even talk about sports.
Well, it may
What?
we may not talk about sports. That's the
She's
thing.
well in terms of topics.
Uh,
We cover a lot, and that's good.
so
You don't
yeah.
just focus on one thing, right?
No, we're multifaceted.
Darn right. Well, I don't remember the last time I posted on Zach Law Online. It's probably a beer related or fantasy football. Maybe it was like the end of the year kind of recap. I think last week I said I had not good fantasy year, and then I was like, well, I enjoy playing fantasy football still, so I think that overcomes any poor performance, except when you lose the Sharona and her Titans late in franchise, but you feel better because you know that you'll
I need to
probably
hit
bail out the next time we have to meet, so I don't have to buy her any beer, so we're
I
good.
need to hit Bob Lung up. We need to get Bob on here because I want to talk to Bob and see
Mr.
how
Consistency.
because I know he hated my draft. He did. He hated my draft, and I want to
Oh,
ask
yeah.
him ask him if he thought I outperformed, outkicked my coverage, or which is a term I hate. Um,
I bet you do.
well, even besides the douchebag. So yeah.
Well, all right then. That's what we have for this week. Next week, playoffs continue. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll get Jen to go on a drunken rant. Although Jen told me she wasn't drinking beer until the Super Bowl. I'm like, well,
Oh
best of
yeah.
luck to you.
We got to get Jen back on. I want to
Hmm.
talk to
Yeah,
Jen.
we had a bit of a technical issue last time,
We
so we need to.
did, but it seems to be. I can't remember if I told you guys this or not. I had to replace the cord, the thing,
I like that.
the
The,
thing. But it seems we did okay tonight. And last week I used my. Yeah, I wanted to be on the safe side. I used my hotspot, but then I ran over on data, so I'm trying to be good. I didn't
well,
just use it for that, so I was using it for other stuff too.
you don't have to tell us what you use your data for. I'm sure it's to look up cheat codes for video games, right?
Let's just play
No.
or run my Xbox One.
Darn right.
Yeah. Last night I was tired but not sleepy, which was kind of weird. And so I got caught up on. I watched. I had not seen Jim and the Holograms, the movie, so I watched it.
Oh man.
It was a highly entertaining movie, very poorly acted, but highly entertaining. I enjoyed that. And then I saw the holiday special, the Sense 8 holiday special, which if you've probably seen that out on Netflix. It's a Netflix original series that I'm hooked on, and the new season will be coming out soon, and I'm very excited about that. Smokey, by the way, is crawling all over my. Get down, down. Um, and big news: Massive and 17th, St. Patty's Day. Yeah.
You kind of broke up there.
What?
I missed part of what you said there.
The Mass Effect Andromeda comes out on March 17th.
Is that a Star Wars movie?
It is a video game.
Hey, I saw Rogue One. I'm hip with the kids.
You'll appreciate this. So, I write for Inside the Pylon and we use Slack. And I've been a slacker. I had been a slacker on Slack. I haven't told you guys, I haven't told Zach. I've been dealing with some health issues, and so I hadn't been as Smokey, what are you doing? I hadn't been as active on Slack as I should have been and could have been. But anyway, so I've been back on, and so Skyrim is the remastered Skyrim is big, and a lot of the guys in there are playing, which I don't have it yet. I've got the
Oh,
original Skyrim, but I don't have it. And so we've got a gaming channel, and they're talking about Skyrim, and so I'm like, like Todd was talking their ears off about Skyrim and the ESO, and I was like, it was like, would she please shut up? I know there. I was like thinking of you because you would do the same thing to me.
I should totally slack any NES Classic if I ever get one.
Say hi to Smokey.
Smokey, you seem about as happy as my cats do to be on camera.
Hey.
What are you doing? You can give me some of those treats or maybe some bourbon or something. Brick by brick.
Yes.
Brick by brick, y'all. Well, okay, when the game comes out, maybe I should, get up there and, try a little
I'm gonna
gaming.
make you
What
game
do I
with.
do? What do these buttons do when I hit the buttons? What do I do?
You'll be so confused. I'll probably be confused. I'm really worried that they're going to mess this up. They've gone. It's a little bit. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I'm excited. Wee.
Well, it's good to have something to look forward to when football is almost over. So sad. So we'll
Yep.
call it an evening. Sports by Sharona. Follow her. I think she's still 100,000 tweets ahead of me. Zach_Law. We'll let you know what's happening. So
That's
good
right.
night, everybody, and kiss my grits.